Hello, Patriots. I'm going to do a video here. It'll be a first in a series of 3 or 4 videos that are going to be compressed and put together. But this will be the first one on a project we're working on. But before I get started, I want to give a shout out to a local gun store. Wearing one of their design shirts. It's in support of autism awareness, and the gun shop is GFR. If you're in the Fredericksburg, Virginia area, anywhere near Fredericksburg, it's worth your drive. Family-run business, veteran. I believe he's a disabled veteran, but I'm not sure the details there. Great guy, great family, good prices. I mean, you know, if you're looking for a gun, his prices are some of the best around, I believe. And he also has quite a bit of accessories on hand. And his shop is also a motorcycle apparel and accessory shop. His wife's a seamstress. She's on hand there to sew patches or whatnot. You may have, I had her repair a tear in a bike cover recently. Very, very reasonable price, and just good people. So if you're in the need of guns or motorcycle accessories, swing by GFR gun shop there in Fredericksburg, Virginia. So enough for that. And by the way, I don't get anything from them. They don't give me any discounts that anybody else doesn't get. And they didn't give me the shirt. I bought the shirt. I'm just throwing a plug out there because I try to support people that represent and support the values and ideas that I support. And also, they're probably the fairest priced FFL transfer fees in the area, at least as far as I know. So if you're in the need of an FFL transfer service, whether you're buying a gun online or you're buying it from somebody in Virginia and you need to do a transfer, I recommend you use them. Feel free to message me if you need contact info. So on to the project. You may or may not be aware of this. I posted a teaser video, probably a month or so ago, just now getting around to this project. This is a Mossberg 590 Shockwave. So we'll talk a little bit about what it is and what it isn't. This particular one is chambered in a 12 gauge with 3-inch chamber. I believe it's also available in a 20 gauge and I think even a 410, if I'm not mistaken. Like I said, it uses a 3-inch shells. It's a 5 in the tube and 1 in the chamber. So you know, if it's loaded all the way up, you'd have a capacity of 6 rounds. The overall length is just over 26 inches from the tip of the muzzle to the tip of the grip here, and the barrel is 14.375 inches, so just a hair over 14 inches in length. It weighs just over 5 pounds, 5 1/4 pounds. So, like I said, it uses 12 gauge shotgun shells, but this is not classified as a shotgun. ATF is, as you know, they're kind of weird in how they define and classify things. This is what they consider a non-NFA weapon. Specifically, it is a firearm. Obviously, it's a firearm, but that's the classification. But it's not a shotgun, and that's because of the way the ATF rather classifies weapons. You know, it's heck, it's smoke and mirrors as far as I'm concerned, but it is what it is. So on with what we're going to do. So this is what we're going to do is we're going to shoot this thing like it is. How it comes, it's like most shotguns. It's got a bead front sight, but no rear sight. So you typically shoot it in this position. You could shoot it like this. I will not be doing that. A 12 gauge, frankly, I'm not sure why they put a bead front sight on it, because you don't need it if you're shooting it from the hip. But that's how we're going to shoot it in this form. That'll be the next video that I'll splice into this backside of this, is me shooting it in the form as you see it right here, which is the way it comes. This is a brand new firearm, and we'll be putting a couple rounds to it. Not many, because 12 gauge is like everything else. The ammo is hard to come by, and when you come by it these days, it's quite expensive. So what we're going to do to it though, is the first thing we're going to do is we're going to install this tactical SB tactical brace on it, and the brace will replace this grip right here. That'll make it much more shootable, and you'll even be able to use that bead front sight if you want to. What else we're going to do to it? We're going to install a Crimson Trace saddle laser that mounts right here, and it's going to be a laser sight. It'll project a laser for aiming. So that would be something, if you were using it in this form right here, that laser saddle would be highly recommended, frankly, because then you would be able to aim it other than just using Kentucky windage from the hip. What else we got? We're going to install, in place of this fore-end where you actually pump it, we're going to replace that with this, which is called it's made by Streamlight. It's called a TL-Racker. So it functions exactly like the original, except for this one has a 1000 lumen light built into the end of it. So that's kind of cool, and that's going to go on there. And what else? Oh, one of the big things we're going to do here, we're going to replace the barrel. Now this one's 14, the stock barrel is 14.375 inches. And what we're going to do is we're going to put this Carlson barrel on it. We've done this beforehand, but you know me, bloopers and all is what you get. And this barrel is slightly longer, I believe, or right about the same length, very close. But what this barrel has going for it, instead of the gold bead front sight, it's got a fiber optic front sight, which the gold bead's fine, don't get me wrong, but fiber optic's even better as far as visibility in daytime. But the catch meow on this thing is it's ported. So that should make the recoil and compensation of this much more controllable when it's fired. So we'll do before and afters, but that's one of the big mods we're doing to it. And what else we got here? The safety lever on this is just a normal little safety toggle type of a lever right there, and it's functional. But we're going to put one on it with a little more pronounced purchase on it. That's not a high dollar upgrade, but it'll make a subtle improvement in the operation of that. And we're also going to mount a Picatinny rail on top of it right here. Why would we do that? Because we're going to mount, not necessarily this one we're going to mount on there, but we're going to mount a red dot sight on it for even better aiming. And this is the one that's going to be on it, at least for testing. This is a brand new out-of-the-box item that I just haven't used on a project yet, but this is a Sig Romeo 5, a really nice red dot, and that'll go right here for that. So that's what we got. We're going to put on, let's go over it again. We're going to do the ported barrel. We're going to do the Crimson Trace laser saddle on the side here, the Surefire TL-Racker, and the improved safety lever, SB tactical brace, Picatinny rail, and the red dot, and it'll transform this thing quite a bit. But stay tuned. Like I said, spliced right on the end of this is going to be the shooting video. I'm not sure I'll get around to that video today, but it's probably going to be, you're probably going to do a four-part video. This part 1, part 2 will be shooting it in the standard form, and then part 3 will be probably firing it with the accessories attached, and then part 4 will be another short tabletop right here just to kind of discuss and go over again all the things we put on it. So appreciate your time, and we'll talk to you soon. Okay, Patriots, sitting here with this brand new out of the box Mossberg 590 Shockwave. As you guys know, I wouldn't say I'm not a big shotgun fan. I like shotguns, I just don't have a lot of time with them. This is a 12 gauge, as we talked about in the first video, and we're going to put some rounds to it today, see how it performs in the factory configuration with this little grip back here, shooting from the hip position. We won't be utilizing the sights, and won't be shooting like that, and in a couple seconds you'll know why. If you're shooting from the hip, I would recommend Definitely recommend that Crimson Trace laser sight that we were going to put on here as an aiming device. But for now, we're going to shoot it in the hip, just like we did when we were kids, and we didn't realize how expensive ammo was. So without further ado, here we go. Mossberg 590 Shockwave. And I've got a target about 10 rounds down there. It already got knocked over in the bloopers, and so it is what it is. Okay, that was 3 rounds of 2 3/4 birdshot. The next 3 rounds are going to be 2 3/4 double-aught buck. I think you'll probably see a difference. If I eject the spent cartridge. Woo! That double-aught buck will get your attention, and they're not even Magnum shells. They're just 2 3/4. So that's the initial test firing. Not really test firing, but just demonstration. Next up, instead of putting all the mods on that we talked about in the first video, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put on that brace, and the brace only, just to get an idea of what it's like to shoot with this factory barrel, so that we'll have some reference point when I put the ported barrel on, and as far as felt recoil goes. And then we'll put the other mods on too, but after that. So the next video will just be the brace with the factory barrel. From that point, because here's the deal, I want to know what kind of felt recoil. The brace alone is going to give us a lot more stability, and that's huge, right? I mean, you want stability, and the ability to actually aim, which let's be real, it's a must-have. But the brace is also going to allow me to determine if we're going to reduce the felt recoil with that ported barrel. And reducing recoil is important not only for comfort. That's not the most important thing. The most important thing is the less recoil you have, the faster you can get back on target. And if you can't get back on target, you can't neutralize the threat. So that's what it's all about. So stay tuned for part 3. And without further ado, that's it for now. Thanks, Patriots. Okay, Patriots, we're going to do a little shooting with this Mossberg 590 Shockwave. We've got the brace installed, Picatinny rail, the red dot sight we got on here just for general testing, and the laser Crimson Trace laser saddles on there. And we've also installed the enhanced safety selector switch. Just gives you a little better purchase. What we have not yet installed is the Surefire foregrip light. I'm going to do that when I install the ported barrel. So these shots right now are going to be 5 shots at about 10 yards, and I'll be aiming down a little bit because my target's low with the standard barrel that comes on the gun. And after this video, then I'm going to install the barrel and the Surefire light and foregrip light, and then we'll test the ported barrel out then. So this should be a pretty good test of what this thing will do. A brace is not a stock, so this is a 12 gauge. We are shooting double-aught buck, so it's going to have some thump, and this brace isn't going to be super comfortable, to be honest with you. So we'll see how it goes. Whew! I predicted that. I don't know how it looked on film, but it'll rock you back a little bit. I'm really curious what that ported barrel is going to do for it. If it gives us a 10 or 20% reduced felt recoil, it'll be a win. Yeah, the 12 gauge is no joke anyway with a normal stock. Obviously this is shorter, lighter, so it's going to have more recoil, and then you put this brace on that's not a stock, and you're going to feel it a little bit. So stay tuned here in a few minutes. I'm going to test out this ported barrel. We'll splice that in at the end of this, and we'll see how it goes. Okay, Patriots, this is short of the tabletop that'll wrap this up. This will be the last video of shooting anyway, I believe. We got the ported barrel on there now, and as you can see, we got this Surefire light on here. Works pretty well, easy to actuate, and short of any more words, we'll go ahead and put some rounds through this and see if it reduces the felt recoil. Got 5 rounds, again, double-aught buck, same ammo, same target distance, and all that. I think I'll turn on the laser just to see. There we go, laser's on, red dot's on. So without further ado, here we go. Woo! That's fun. I'm gonna be straight up with you. I don't know if it reduced the felt recoil or not. It surely must have. It almost had to. It certainly isn't any worse. But after the first 5 rounds of this double-aught buck, my shoulder's a little tender. You can see what you're getting out of that brace there. So I'd say you're probably looking at maybe a 10-15% reduction in felt recoil. It's really hard to say. It's not less than scientific, but again, it certainly wouldn't hurt any at all to put that on there. It almost has to help somewhat. And when you're talking about a 12 gauge, a short, light 12 gauge, you're going to feel something regardless of what you do. So that's it for the shooting videos. Like I said, I might roll in a couple pictures or maybe even videos of a target that we shoot with birdshot at home defense range, which is 7 to 10 yards, and also at double-aught buck, just to give people an idea what that is if they've not done that testing themselves before. But the last and final video will be a tabletop where we'll talk about these particular mods, and that shouldn't be too awful long. So appreciate you watching, and stay tuned for this last video or two, and I'll compile this thing and get it published. Okay, we're going to demonstrate. Right now we're demonstrating the green laser sight, so you can see that. And now we are in the woods, but it's broad daylight out, so it's still plenty bright. This is about 7 yards, which is going to be the average distance you're talking about in a home defense situation as far as room size, anywhere from 5 to 10 yards, maybe a little longer in the hallway. But so plenty bright in daylight, this green laser dot is. And I'm going to also show you the surefire light on this thing right now. You'll see it's awful bright as well. Now I'm going to shoot 2 times. Hopefully it doesn't probably kind of loud because it's only about 1.5 feet from the camera. First one's going to be a bird shot, just to give you an idea of the spread, and then the next one's going to be double-aught buck. Obviously the little holes will be the bird shot, and the double-aught buck will be the I'm not sure why it's blinking. It's interesting. Double-aught buck will be the big holes, and we'll try to get a close-up of those as well. So here we go. All right, I'm going to walk the camera up so you can see it a little better. Now, majority of those, obviously all the little holes are the bird shot. I don't know if you can see that really well. But the big holes are primarily buckshot and the wadding that came out of the shotgun. So I'm going to turn my light on so you can see the little holes a little bit better there. So honestly, birdshot will definitely piss somebody off. It probably won't kill them. It might make them leave. It might just make them mad. Double-aught buck, on the other hand, probably get the job done. Hello Patriots, Crazy Elk 99 here, and we're going to wrap up this Mossberg 590 Shockwave video. Talk a little bit about what we did to it and some more impressions from shooting it, that kind of thing. And then this will be the last in the series, and I'll compile all these videos into one video, upload them to YouTube, and then by that time you'll be seeing them on the Freedom Unfurled page. I'd like to be having a cool down beer right now because it's pretty balmy out, about 6 o'clock or 6:30 maybe in the evening, but I don't want to get the internet hate by having a firearm and alcohol. You know how that is, so coffee it is. I promise that's what's in there. Okay, so let's go over this thing real quick. We talked about what we were going to do before we did it, then we did it, and now we're going to talk about what we did. So start from the back. Of course, it had the 590 Shockwave little kind of grip thing back here, which is good for shooting at the hip. And we took that off and put on this SB Tactical brace, the brace and the grip combination. And I will tell you right now, as far as stability goes, it's a game changer. Whether or not the ATF allows us to keep it like this, that's a whole nother story. We'll get to that in another video coming up soon. But we put that on. That was fairly uneventful. Moving on forward, we put on this Crimson Trace laser saddle, and that's a pretty easy. It works off of 4 batteries. In this particular, they make it with a green laser or a red laser. The green laser is a little more expensive than the red, but it's also a little more visible in the daylight than the red. I think the red would be fine for almost any home inside the house situation for sure. But the green's the way we went on this, and not disappointed at all. It's got 3 touch pads. It's you press it to turn it on. You can probably see it right there, and then you press any one of these to turn it on or to turn it off. There's no flashing. There's no momentary on, momentary off. It's either on or it's off kind of thing. And then there's a master off switch here. So we're going to turn that off for the rest of the video right now. And then coming back a little bit, we put this enhanced safety lever on, safety selector lever on. Nothing wrong with the one that comes on it. You'll see this little hump on it. The one that comes with it doesn't have that. It's just rounded, same profile as this one without the hump. And the one that comes on it does have serrations fore and aft, so it's not hard to activate, but this just makes it a little more definitive that you're on the safety. So that turned out to be one of the most pain in the butt mods, actually. Most of this was pretty straightforward, but that was kind of a pain in the butt because you had to disassemble about half of the gun to do that, which, oh well. So further forward, we put this Picatinny rail on so that we could put some type of an aiming device on here. Now, this barrel that we'll get to in a minute, the factory barrel, you may recall, had the gold bead front sight, no rear sight at all, such as most shotguns are. Although this isn't a shotgun, we talked about that. This barrel has a fiber optic sight. I'm not going to point it at myself, but you'll probably be able to see with the light picking it up. It's a bright neon green, which is more visible. But with this Picatinny rail on, even without this red dot sight mounted, with this Picatinny rail on, you can barely see it, so it's really not functional. So if you're going to put the Picatinny rail on, you really do need to put some type of an aiming device on with it. Otherwise, just leave it off the Picatinny rail, and you'll be able to use the green dot like you would on a typical shotgun. So we did that, and then we did some shooting. We did some before shooting with it without this brace, of course. You'll see that by now. And then we did shooting with all these mods on except for the ported barrel we put on last and this handguard we put on last. And I saved the handguard for last just because you have to take the barrel off to put it on anyway, so I thought, why not just do it all at once? And that's what I did. This light is a Streamlight. It's called a TL-Racker, so it replaces the fore-end or the racking device on the traditional Mossberg 590 Shockwave. And it, on either side, you can press it and it turns it on or off, or if you press it and hold it, and then when you release it, it turns it off. So if you just want to light something up for a second, you just hold it down for a second, and when you let it go, it'll go off. Otherwise, you just press and release and it turns it on. This is 1,000 lumens. Now, most of us grew up on Eveready and Duracell batteries, so we don't really know a lot about, everything had a little bulb in it, and they worked, or they were kind of crappy. But these new modern lights, a person could, there's plenty of videos out there on lights, and I'm not the guy to do that video, but modern lights are incredible. And this 1,000 lumens, let me tell you right now, it's probably brighter than most headlights that you used on cars prior to the last 10 years. It's pretty bright. So that's a nice item, and actually with this little hump in it right here, it's actually a little more intuitive to rack the slide than it was with the standard straight one. The only difference is, and this is noted in other reviews as well, the strap is it's not adjustable, it's a little looser than the factory one. The factory one would be taken up a little bit more like that. That's not a big deal, although it may be something. If it were mine, I might cut the strap and have it re-sewn a little bit shorter so it's a little closer in, but we'll see about that. And then after we put that on, we put this ported barrel on. Now, by now you'll have seen the video, so I'd ask you to look back on the videos and look at me shooting it with the normal barrel in the shoulder position and in the ported barrel, see if you can tell a difference. I couldn't tell a major difference because I'd already taken 5 good thumpings with my shoulder. Not that, you know, I'm not a manly man, but I'm not a girly man either, so, you know, it's not a big deal. But my shoulder was already tender, so it's hard to tell if this made a pronounced difference. I would suggest that it probably did, as I alluded in the shooting video, or after it, I'd say 10 or 15% perhaps reduced felt recoil, something along that neighborhood. But again, I'd look for you guys to take a look at the video, see what you think. If you can tell by looking at the video, I haven't reviewed the videos. I'm going to compile this all together. You know me, you're getting the bloopers and everything. I'm going to say rounds when I mean yards, and you know, I'll say some weird stuff. But so that's it, the 12 gauge Mossberg 590 Shockwave. Wrapping this up, we'll talk a little bit right now just about the results we had on the 2 rounds, the test rounds that I shot on a target for the video. We'll talk about that right now. Now, the first shot was I'm sorry, it was these are empty, by the way. There's no live ammo here in the area. It is a 12 gauge birdshot, and this particular load is number 8. So number 8, I looked it up because I don't have it memorized. Number 8, the diameter of number 8 shot, call it pellets if you will, whatever you want to call it, is 0.09 inches. That's the diameter. How many are on there? I don't know. Or in there, I don't know exactly. But you can see it peppered. I didn't measure this, but we're talking probably a foot, somewhere in the neighborhood of a foot in diameter. A little bit left of center, and I didn't true the sights at all, so that's probably why. That's not the gun. That's just I haven't zeroed the sights for the shot pattern. But I'd say that's a good 12-14 inches there. And the you'll see in the video the first big hole during the first shot was right here. That was the wad. It's a plastic thing that holds everything together, and that normally comes out first, but it'll probably be the slowest. I didn't point out this birdshot is 1,200 feet per second is what they're advertising for a muzzle velocity. But you'll see that all these little holes are the birdshot, and the big hole that the birdshot produced was the little plastic wad, which isn't going to hurt anybody. It's not going to feel good, but it's not going to do any it's not going to stop the threat. Let's just put it that way. It has no power behind it. So then we shot the buckshot, and in the buckshot we have this hole over here and these holes right here. Now this is double-aught buck. Double-aught buck is 0.33 inches, so basically a third of an inch. So you're talking about 9 pellets that are bigger than a 1/4 inch in diameter. That's throwing some lead, so to speak, downrange. And all that hit right here, and I'd say that's within a 2.5 inch spread there. I can link in a article I read on spread size for shotguns and stuff like that if you're interested in that. It is fairly interesting. It doesn't open up. Now this was, let me back up, this is 7 yards. We talked about why briefly in the video why I picked 7 yards. So that's about 21 feet. The rule of thumb they say is 1 inch for every 10 feet. So that'd be 3 inches. I'd say it's a little tighter, and that's probably about 2.5 inches. And this is the target itself, but it's kind of tore up, so I also saved the box. It's not tore up quite as bad, and you can kind of see on the box here. This will be a wad here, this is a wad here, and this is that double-aught buck right there. So if you're talking about using a shotgun for home defense, particularly in the home, birdshot is kind of like carrying a .22 long rifle handgun for self-defense. If that's all you've got, that's all you've got, then you're going to use it. But if you've got options, you wouldn't want to use birdshot if you're shooting anything but a bird or maybe a snake. You know, you want to neutralize the threat. I think in one of the videos I used kill, and you know, I shouldn't have done that because that's not the goal. The goal is to stop the threat from coming, and we hope that doesn't result in death, but many times it does in a defensive situation, and that's what we're talking about here is a defensive situation. So shucks, without further ado, I think that's it. I probably left something out. I kind of drug this out over a couple weeks. and then did the last half of it today. So in my haste today, I may have forgotten something, but by all means, drop me a comment down below or a question or anything that you might have. This thing, you know, you could do worse for home defense. You know, a lot of people don't believe a shotgun's a good home defense weapon. This will get the job done, but you know, I'm not going to go into the pros and cons. You can research that yourself, but this will get the job done. Are there better weapons out there? Probably, you know, but this is quite the beast. I will backtrack one thing. If you didn't have this brace on here and this pistol grip on here and you just had to run it like it is, this we already talked about. Let's just say the brace isn't there. We're not going to shoot it like this so we can aim. We're not going to do that, and you can now, by now you know why. This Crimson Trace laser saddle, whether you get the green or the red one, doesn't matter. If you're going to have this thing and shoot it for anything more than just a ranged fun, and you want it to be effective in a home defense or any other situation, you want something like this on there. I don't know if anybody else makes one. Crimson Trace is a great company, by the way, and I believe if they're still doing it, you have lifetime free batteries with if you're the original purchaser. So that's a pretty big plus, I think, anyway. And so they basically send them to you each year, but you have to email them, ask them. I've done that in the past and had been no issues. But yeah, I'd say if you're going to not carry this thing, but if you're going to shoot this thing in a defensive posture and hope to hit anything, you want an aiming device when you're shooting it from the hip, not just using Kentucky windage, because this thing will go through walls. So something like this is a must-have in that scenario, in my opinion. Now, if you've got the brace mounted or something like that, this isn't absolutely necessary, provided you have some other system and aim. And quite frankly, the bead sight or this fiber optic sight is plenty good enough if you didn't want to go this route, or this is another route. So we've got some redundancy here in this system, this setup. We've got the laser sight if we want to use that, and we've got the red dot sight, which you know, right now they're working in concert, so that's a plus. And then of course we've got a light so we can identify the threat, and that's paramount. We talked about that or touched on some other brief videos of mine where we talked about you don't want to even point a gun at somebody you can't identify. So the light is important. You have to be able to see what you're shooting. Well, that's it. Hope you all enjoyed it. Please leave a comment or question if you have one. Thumbs up, thumbs down, whatever. I'd ask that you open this in the YouTube app so that you can give me a like there. And by all means, consider subscribing and sharing it. If nothing else, heckle me. That's what I'd do to you.